all objects have properties associated with that object. How do we access a property of the object? There's two ways. The one is by using the dot notation, and then you just state the property name after the dot. And the other one is square brackets, and then you can write the property name in between it. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start accessing some properties. Remember how we said dot or square brackets? Let's try it. So let's access the object. In our case, it's bike. And let's say we want to access the make. And here we just have to console log it. Console log. There you go. There's the name of the bike, Yamaha. What about using square bracket notation? Let's console log bike, open square brackets, and let's type in the property name. Let's say we want in color. And there you go. It's blue. What about a method? It's the same thing. Let's execute the method by accessing bike using the dot notation. We've called it sound. And now to execute a method, and we're going to be getting into functions later on in this course, but you have to follow it by parentheses. And there you go. Console logs vroom. Now the other thing I didn't mention in the lecture is that we can use the dot and square notation not only to access properties and methods, but to also set new properties and to set new methods on the object. What do I mean? Well, let's show you. Set new properties on the object. We can now say bike, and what property do we want to add? Let's just say type, and we want the type to display the type of fuel consumption, petrol or diesel. Let's say this is petrol, and let's do the same thing but using bracket notation, and let's say this is the year. We have to enclose it in a string, and let's say it's a 2019 model. We have literally now added these properties to the bike object. How do I prove that to you? Well, if we just console bike out, you can see we've included type and the year with this notation. And what about if we attach a property to an object but we don't define a value? We don't assign it a value. Well, in this case, it's not going to be null. It'll be undefined. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say we want to put a model onto this, but we leave it like this. We don't actually assign a value to model on that bike. What do you think is going to happen if I try and console log this? Console log bike.model. And there you have it. It's undefined. It's not null. So these are some cool nuances with objects. But remember on the previous lecture, I also said that all objects have properties. Well, you get some very weird results on the back of that. Let me show you a few examples. So let's delete all of this. And it kind of feels weird because I write all the stuff and then just delete it. It's like digging a hole only to fill it up again. But anyway, we're learning. It's the price we pay. So let me give you a few examples of what I mean when I say all objects have properties. And we can attach properties to any object. So let me say here, you can add properties to just about anything in JavaScript. And let's just go with example 1 for now. Let's just create an empty object. Let empty be an empty object. Now, let's attach a property called A. Empty A. And if we console out empty, we get our property. And just bear in mind that empty.a meant nothing until we assigned a value high to that property A. But this is an object, and we know we can add properties to objects. What about if we create an array? So let's give you another example. Let's look at example number 2. Let's comment all this out. Now let's say we create an empty array. And again, we can put a property on here. Empty.a equals high. And if we console log that out, it's an array with a property high. But you've got to be careful with stuff like this, because although we can add properties to anything in JavaScript or just about anything, doesn't mean we should. In this instance, it might mess up 4 loops, but it gets weirder. Look at this. Let me comment this out again. And let's look at the third example. We can define a function called empty. Nothing in it. Now we can also attach a property to that. And if we log it out, we get a function with a property of A. Well, let's make it high to be consistent with everything else. How weird is this? You can just put properties on anything in JavaScript. Just about anything. Let's continue.